Hey there, we are doing a GPPA chat about competition. This is recorded, so those of you watching the recording after the fact, hello. My name's Marche. I'm a GPPA member and a past president. And we're going to talk about, we got some more people coming in. So we're going to talk about our upcoming competition. We're going to talk about kind of frequently asked questions, maybe talk about some of the changes that have happened in PPA's competitions too. So we'll just go ahead and get this started. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat and I'll make sure to read them out. And I wanted to thank Bob for coming here. He's one of our judges in July. Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome. Good day.
And then Javon's here and Brian's here and Rachel's here. We want to welcome you guys and really appreciate you coming to our live event. So let's talk a little bit about just competition in general and why it's valuable to you. We can just go around the table if anyone wants, or around the Zoom room and kind of say why it's been useful to you. And we'll start there. Anyone want to start?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
It's been hugely useful to me. Number one, in just helping me get and become a much better photographer. I would not be the photographer I am today if it was not for image competition and working toward pushing myself to that next level. A major part of it, though, is every award that I got, even from one of the first merits that I ever received, generated a press release. And if you go to my website, successful-photographer.com, and you go to this section that says press releases, you're going to find just a pile of stuff. And I don't even have everything posted there right now, but I have like a stack of press releases over the years like this. And you can't pay for that kind of stuff. Even if I paid for that much column inches of advertising, it would have nowhere near the value of somebody printing an article. Even though I wrote every single word, it looks like it came from whatever publication was putting it out. And that was huge for people knowing that I am a successful photographer here in Sedona.
Very cool. Does anyone else want to chime in about the value of competition for you personally?
Yeah, I don't know about Bob, but it's been the money.
Oh, Javon, you're cutting out. You might want.
Can you hear?
Why don't you just stop your video, and then that will likely make your audio stronger because it won't be trying to stream over that bandwidth.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I gotta apologize. We still don't have internet set up, and so I'm kind of working off piggybacking off my neighbor, doing the best I can. Cade's not happy about it, but I'm trying. Well, what I was gonna say was, I was trying to make a joke. So I don't know about Bob, but it's the fame, glory, and riches that the image competition bring me. Personally, I think it's the growth as an artist for me. My images have become so much better in my eyes over these last years that I've started taking image competition seriously. And what I mean by seriously is when I started submitting images in 2004, it was hit or miss. I mean, I would submit a case and I maybe would merit one image. I did that up until about 2006 when I kind of had to step away from image competition because I was always on the road so much. But I didn't really take it seriously, and I didn't put the work into the images. I would just look at something and go, okay, that's kind of pretty, and I would grab it and I would throw it in my case and I would call that my case and wonder why it is I didn't do better. When I started competing again and like really, really competing, I think it was probably either 2018, 2019, I actually started swallowing my pride and reaching out to different jurors, different master photographers that I knew, and sending me my images and asking, "What the hell?" That you know, it really does. I think for me, it definitely was a swallow my pride. I could not understand why. I could not understand why a photographer like myself, who was getting paid $10,000, $15,000 to shoot a wedding, couldn't figure out image competition. And it's because client work is so completely different than competition work. And it just took a little bit for me to figure that out. A little bit. I mean, I stopped competing in 2006 and started again in 2018. So I guess it was more like 12 years. But that was the big difference for me. But I found that when I started taking it seriously and listening to the feedback and adjusting my images and realizing that, like, I see so many other photographers and groups and within our own association, every time the results come back and they're like, I don't understand, this did well in state, or this, did well in my local competition, why didn't it do well here? That learning the rules I feel like I've kind of gotten off track. Learning the rules of the game that you're playing has been a major advantage for me, because I've now gone, let's say 2021, 2022. I've had 2 years in a row where prior to the way they do image review now, with PPA, I've gone 4 for 4 2 years in a row. My work has gotten better. My images have gotten better. My confidence has gotten better. Dealing with my clients have gotten better. And I attribute all of that to image competition. So it kind of brings me back to that original joke about fame and riches, which, I'll be honest with you, it has actually brought in money, not because I won any money, but because it has given me the confidence to ask for more money, because I know my images are better than anyone else's in my area.
One thing that I've found is every photographer, when they say, well, I don't really want, I'm not ready for print competition. I'm not ready for image competition. My work isn't good enough. And I found that everybody who bites it and says, okay, I'm in, regardless of the level that they start at, I watch and see them expand and become better photographers and produce better images within 6 months to a year every single time. And everybody who's still like, well, I'm not really good enough yet. You do image competition to become better, not to win or do whatever you're doing. The idea is just to become a better photographer.
That's really cool. Does anyone else want to chime in about this topic? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give us about 30 seconds, and I would like everyone to maybe put in the chat a topic or a question that they'd like to cover in our discussion today. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of time to do that.
Hey, Marche, can I?
Hey, yeah, go ahead,
Hey.
Mauricia. Is that how I pronounce it?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I thought I was on mute, but I wasn't on mute and I couldn't get off mute. But anyway.
It's okay.
I just wanted to chime in, like, I thought I never wanted to do an image competition. I'm like, I don't need to do that. And I'm in the process right now of studying for CPP. And in that studying, it's been very eye-opening, the things I thought I knew that I didn't know, that I should know. And so that kind of led me to the competition route, because I've talked to friends who've done it, and all the kind of all the things that Jace, was it Javon was saying?
Siobhan, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, I can really relate in terms of from what I've heard from other people. But in my studying, I'm like, this is definitely something that I need to do for me. Number one, to get that feedback. And with that feedback, figure out where it is I need to fine tune. And, you know, just that whole package of putting it together for me, in my business, and, you know, for personal growth and all of that. So yeah, that's where I am.
Cool. Well, welcome to the journey, because in the beginning it can be very frustrating,
Mhm.
but it is an amazing journey, and you will watch your work just expand exponentially as you participate.
Okay, wonderful.
All right, so now, thank you, Mauricia. Now I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds in the chat. I started out with some questions. See if any other topics come to mind and put them in the chat, and we'll cover those.
I know Jennifer's got to have something.
You know, Jennifer's got to have something. What?
I was delayed.
Well, I'm having I don't have service worth a flip. So
You and
I'm
your
like,
host
I can't
sister.
even, yeah.
That's
But-
okay. We can get started on these questions, and then if you have other topics you want to cover, just put them in the chat. So my first question I put in there: has anyone done mirror image review yet? It's a new process. Have you, Javon?
Yes.
How'd it go?
Yes.
What was it like? I haven't done it yet.
Well, to be honest, actually, hold on. Let me mute my
Yeah, kill your video.
stop my video.
Yeah.
Okay. The first one I kind of treated like the first time I entered image competition with PPA in 2004, and I just kind of threw some images in there. And one of them actually got a merit. Then I started taking them a little more seriously, and I think what I'm trying to do is go back and grab my master of wedding photography. So I'm having to pull images that it take me a little to get off lives. But I think so far I've gotten either 4 or 5 merits so far this year, with one of being image excellence. So I think it's going really well. I haven't done anything in the last 2 months because I've been so busy. But I'm really hoping that if I'm not hoping anything slows down, but I'm hoping that maybe I can get some more images to submit for next month.
And
Is
you can only get 2 more.
I know.
So
For
how many
this-
can
for
you get
this
in a
year.
year?
You can get 8 in a year
8?
Yeah.
per degree. So if you wanted to continue, if you wanted to, get more merits in, say, your open degree or your master artist, even if you have that medal, you could still participate in there. You can get 8 merits per degree per year.
Oh, I didn't know it was per degree. That's
Yes.
neat. Yeah, that's really cool. Is it a relatively simple process? Like pay and upload, Javon?
Yeah, yeah. You pay based on the number of images you enter. You can only enter 4 per degree, and I don't really, I can't remember how much it is to actually enter an image. I usually
20
just enter and submit and hit
$25
pay.
per image, and then $10 per critique.
Okay.
And Bob, are you involved in
Always
judging
do the critiques.
for
Yes,
those?
I didn't when I started out in image.
Go ahead, Javon. Sorry, I
Yeah.
cut you off.
I was gonna say it's okay. With print competition, when we actually did the critiques, I think I did them and I got a video back. That's how long ago that was. And the video, the person that got on there, I guess I don't know what the deal was. They got on there and they were like, well, I didn't watch the panel when your image came by. I don't know what to think about it because I like the image. And it would just kind of left me with a bad taste in my mouth. And I never asked for reviews again. But when I started again in 2019, I started every competition I could enter state. I went to every affiliate that I could because I just made it my goal. I was going to get my master photographer and I got critiques for everything. So now it's just second nature for me. I get those critiques and critiques have come a long way. They really have. These jurors, I don't know if we just have better jurors now than we had like 15 years ago. But it's the feedback has improved so much. And I get I used to cringe. I used to cringe, but I get excited when I'm opening up my account on PA and it says that the review is back.
The training for the judges has gone through a lot, especially in regards to doing the reviews. And now as a juror, as when you want to come in and be a juror, one of the things that you have to do is provide sample. You would critique images and then that critique would be critiqued. And then if anything happens and, let's say, Javon, you saw one and you went, ooh, you know what, this was really a bad critique. You can let Rich know and it'll go back and be reviewed and they'll either agree with you or go, well, you're just not feeling good. But it will go back to the juror. And if there is a problem consistently with somebody's getting complained about, they will be called on the carpet and either retrained or refreshed or removed.
Yeah, that goes into one of the questions that we have in the chat here. Bob, what does it take to become a juror?
I'm going to tell you the truth right now. I don't know. It's a whole new process now.
Okay.
Because of the way that, things have been progressing over the years. And on June 29th, I'll be able to answer that question for you because they're going to re-review. The basics are you will have to attend the school, which is a couple of days of learning how to do it. I believe that's online this year. Once you have passed that, you need 13 merits beyond a degree, I believe, before you can even, say, hey, I'm going to be a juror. And then
There's 13 print merits,
image merits. Yeah.
image merits. Yeah,
We don't have prints anymore,
I know.
unfortunately. Old habits die hard. But yeah, once you have, and I believe it's 13, and that may be an ASP thing, but you would at very least have to have your degree and extra merits. You have to submit images still, if that's the same as in the past. Then the other thing that they're doing now is you sit on jury panels acting as a juror with a bunch of reviewers who have been around for a really long time. So that's a real nerve-wracking experience. You have to be able to express yourself properly and, share information, show that you play well with the group and that that whole 9 yards. So anyway, once you pass that spot, then you get approved to be a juror. Plus you have to add, you have to enter critiques to be reviewed.
Wow.
Oh, no, he's walking away.
Brian, what'd you say?
Oh, I was just looking at Javon and he was showing a print. And then all of a
Yeah,
sudden.
now
he
he's
put
coming
it down and
over.
walked. Yeah, no, oh, Javon, I've seen the light, okay?
Okay, Javon has to be speaking in order for the video to record. So, or maybe I can make him the spotlight. Did you want to show that, Javon, again? You have to say something or
Yeah.
it won't. Okay.
Okay, so I went back and found my very first merit for PPA.
Sweet.
So
Well,
this
it's
was
not great quality on Zoom, but
no, I know. So this was from 2004. It was the 113th annual competition for PPA held in Las Vegas. But
Very
yeah, this
neat.
was my very first one, and this was back when we had to do these prints, and I've got quite a few of these that I still have. Bob, do you have
I'm
any
gonna
of yours?
I'm gonna go grab one of my first ones.
oh
too.
yes, I love some show and tell.
Oh,
This
that
is
was-
great.
Well, since he's doing that, I'll show you my second one. All right. So obviously this was back when I was primarily shooting weddings. And I hate this because like this obviously went for my master of photography, but this wasn't a wedding image I shot at the Louvre in Paris. And I know
Wow.
it's absolutely terrible quality, but this was
It's okay. We get the general composition of it. I guess
was the
one of the
next year.
thing, like even though it's poor quality on Zoom, like you can still see the impact,
yeah,
and that's one of those 12 elements.
trying to get it in better lighting.
Okay,
Open the-
Bob, let me see if I can
Oh,
spotlight
I
you
want to see
here.
Bob's.
Okay, Bob, go for it.
This was one of my first. And that was shot on film with multiple exposures, and one exposure was out of focus and the other was in focus. We shot on slide film. So that gives you an idea of, that was my very first one. That was a loan collection. And I'll show you one more just for giggles.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful.
And that was one where I stood in Oak Creek while it was just freezing, and I didn't know it was freezing. I spent 3 different nights in there photographing this thing, again, slide film, taking the slide film to the lab and going and waking up in the middle of the night and going, oh man, I forgot to X. And then going in 3 days later and trying it again. And then on the 3rd day, when I finally got everything, we've got 30-second exposure, a fill flash at the end, and all, a split field neutral density filter on top. And on the 3rd day, when I finally fired that last flash, I went, that's it. Good. This water's freaking cold.
Wow, what a great story. Okay, so we have a good question for Mauricia. Thanks for submitting this one. But let me remove the spotlight here.
I didn't have a good story with my picture.
Mauricia, do you want to ask the question yourself, so it's not just me?
Sure. So when you're going into the print competition, are you selecting, do you come up with a vision and say, I want to create something for the competition? Or is it something you already have that you think is really super and you want to enter that? How does that work?
My answer is both.
Mm,
I've used client work, but I also will, but I'm constantly working toward being more creative with my imagery. So I
Mhm.
will give myself a self-assignment. And then if I feel that I've completed the assignment well, then I'll go ahead and submit it.
okay.
And then I usually also take that same image and use it to promote my work to my clients and go, look at what I can do. Isn't this cool?
Okay.
Obviously, after it's been submitted and judged, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, no, that doesn't matter, because my clients aren't, they're not in the loop of the
That's true.
image that, this is a small town here.
Someone else had a
Mauricia?
comment.
Well, I was gonna chime in because, I never can stay quiet according to Javon. Marissa, I was gonna tell you that, I shoot primarily seniors, and most of what I shoot, just like Javon was saying a while ago, my parents, what they purchase and what the senior wants is totally different than competition work. It's like two totally different ballparks. The mom does not care if an image is overexposed, has a highlight, blah, 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 blah. Image competition really does. So they are two extremes. However, I have used images that I did from clients because after I got what mom wanted and the senior wanted, then I had something I wanted. So while I had them here, maybe I had just one project on my brain that, hey, while I got so-and-so, I'm going to grab, something like this. And so I have turned around and used a couple of those for, competition stuff. The other thing that I was warned about, and even though I was warned, I was blind to, don't use anybody. Bob's laughing at me. You don't even know what I'm going to say.
I know
dude.
exactly what you're going to say. Don't use your family.
Oh my gosh, you're so right.
I've been doing this for a long time.
But even I didn't even use family. I used my dog. So
That's family.
and well, yes. And apparently I thought, oh my gosh, she's royal. She's, da da da. I have a Doberman. And I just didn't see things because you don't when it's your own family. They're beautiful. We're just a tad prejudiced. So that's my 2 cents.
Go ahead,
Can
Javon.
can I address that?
Don't operate on your family, like if you're a doctor, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay, way to rub it in my face that I didn't listen. Yeah, that's right. Me and you're gonna bond. I can tell right now.
It's more that you're too emotionally involved, and the things
Yeah.
that you see are different than the technical things that the jurors may see. There's a tendency to just, oh my, that person is so beautiful. You see things that aren't just in the image. You're seeing your experiences with that person versus just the photograph of that person.
Okay.
I was picking on her, but I really liked her analogy about the operating. That was good.
It was a good one.
Yeah, it was.
Javon had a comment. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to address the whole, don't do the family thing, because any of you guys that know me within GPPA, I don't pay attention to that rule.
Mhm.
I think that there is some validity to it. I really do, but I for some reason, and oh, there's a brick wall there, and I'm going to keep slamming my head against it until I can finally break through. One of the images that, I got a merit from it, but I was so sure that this was a good image, and it was of my son. And the first few times I submitted this thing, it bombed out of regionals, it bombed out of IPC, it bombed out of GPPA, but I kept tinkering with it. And I finally ended up getting a merit from it with IPC, and it got a merit at GPPA. I'm constantly submitting images of my wife. In fact, last year, I submitted an image of all 3 of us that won a merit. So I think if you can distance yourself from the picture a little bit, if you can possibly do that, I think that submitting images of your own family is okay. But you really do have to treat it like you've never seen it before.
It's not good for rookies, Javon.
No.
Yeah, it's hard.
That's all.
Well,
That's
apparently
the
it's not
point.
easy.
Is you need to get down the road a piece like you have gotten, and you can pull yourself apart. Because if you're doing it when you first start out, it is just so you add that extra heartbreak in there that it was, well, that was my son, and that was or my daughter, or my friend, or whatever.
Well, even
So,
Javon saying it
I'm
took
gonna-
several times. So
Yeah. This is my wife. Now this did well at WPPI, but it did not do well at PPA.
Mm-hmm.
And different competition. That's what I tell people, is like, when you play in different competitions, you got to play by the rules of the people that made the competition. Just because you think it's a beautiful image doesn't mean it's going to do anything. Now, this is the side effect of don't submit images too quickly when you're first starting out in competition of your own children. And this was mine, and this bombed completely. And looking back on it, I'm like, ooh. But it's gotten better.
All right, well, that brought up one of the other questions that we had here about rules. One of the questions we had, GPPA is doing its own competition, and have the rules changed from this year to, or last year to this year?
I wouldn't say that the rules have changed. We have added some categories that weren't there. Now, I think that was Rachel's question, possibly.
Yeah, I think Rachel, that was yours, right? She's
Yeah.
on mute.
Yeah, that's me.
So Rachel's been around, and I'm not saying you're old, but if you've been around.
But you wouldn't be wrong, though.
What we've done is actually go back in. Well, okay. So basically what we've done is go back in and add some categories that GPPA used to have and haven't had in a very long time. But ideally, what we're trying to do is mimic MIR as much as we can, because that's where we're trying to help prepare you to go. And so, again, I wouldn't say the rules have changed. Some of the differences are, obviously, we're giving scores where MIR isn't giving scores. We want you, at our competition, we want you to see how close you got to getting a merit, to see. And so now it's very similar to what IPC, sorry, it's old habit. MIR is doing now, where you get either it has a low potential or a high potential of whether you should keep trying to submit it or not. But other than that, the competition, the rules for GPPA have pretty much stayed the same. Unless there's a specific rule you're asking about, maybe that might help me.
No, I just wondered if things had changed much at GPPA, considering what, the PPA changing the way they do things and what was going on. So
I get what you're saying now.
I think what the states are doing, and what the ASP and the individual states, keeping the scores, keeping that, that older model working, is more helpful at the state level and at the as you're moving along level. And I think it's smart for the states to not totally mimic MIR and go to like a 4-score, type neighborhood.
So what is the 4-score?
The 4-score is you have no merit with low potential. Hey, I got my first one of those already. Your merit with potential, which means you didn't get a merit, but there's a good possibility if you did some work or fix this or that you could take it to the next level. Then you have merit, and then you have image excellence. And unlike before, image excellence is only a single merit. Just like, after that happened about a year or two ago, a lot of people didn't realize it, but you still only receive a single merit for it, but you will appear in the imaging excellence book, and it will work towards your imaging excellence medal and your imaging excellence degree.
All right, and welcome TP. Thanks for coming on in. Let's see here. I'm going to go through one of these other questions here. Okay, question about titles. Sorry, my dog is going crazy here at my feet, and I don't want him to shut off the computer accidentally. Can you talk about your experience with titling things? This year, I'm going to use ChatGPT to come up with titles for me.
Thanks for letting us know.
Well,
do
I
not
always
use
find that
foreign
one of the
names.
hardest things.
That's
As,
Don't-
hey, go ahead.
Don't use foreign names or anything that's hard to pronounce. If the Bob, I don't know. Do they announce it in MIR or does it just come across the screen now?
It comes across the screen now, but still, things like, I remember an image that I had. It was the name of the place, which was Tlaquepaque. Well, I didn't remember that it took me 6 months to learn how to say it without going with too many Q's and U's. And after the competition, I was down and thinking, Rich Newell was actually the commentator for that and the announcer. And I heard him telling the story. Yeah, there was this image and it had all these Q's and U's and E's. I had no idea how to say it. And I said, would that be Tlaquepaque, Rich? So yeah,
right.
you need to watch for that. The other thing is, don't just use a description of the image. The judges can see what the image is. Try and have some sort of an emotional connection of some sort, or more storytelling without having, monstrous amounts of words. 3 or 4 words, nice and tight, but something that then helps connect and helps tell the story of maybe why you took that photo versus what it's like, if you say Arc de Triomphe, Paris, the jurors can see what that is. Oh, speaking of which,
Yeah.
Javon.
you can see that is. So, and the title needs to be something more like it has to do with, go ahead, Javon, what title did you use?
Yeah.
It was Arc de Triomphe.
Arc de Triomphe. So, I needed a title, and I was like, all right, let's say what it is. Sur le Champs-Élysées. And that was the review I got back, was maybe you shouldn't have used the foreign language with the title of the print because nobody could pronounce it.
Right.
And then everybody was curious as to what the hell it was. But yeah, so like this is Sur le Champs-Élysées. And then I've done that before. Now I got lucky with this one because I just said Le Louvre. And I think just because it was much simpler, I got away with that one. But yes, don't use an entire sentence. And also don't be Bob said something and I meant to jump on it and I can't think of how to exactly say it. So last year I submitted an image to which we were still doing regionals. And I was trying to explain in the story this almost like a behind the scenes shot of this older gentleman. And I said behind the scenes and I got dinged for that. So I mean, we're still making mistakes. We're still learning. I mean, God knows if we're not learning, why are we doing this?
Dude, I am too. Now, part of the ideas are part of the things where you can find sources. Number one, run your image past friends. Hey,
Yeah.
what title do you have for it? And get 4 or 5 or 6 different inputs on what somebody else may see in that image that you didn't quite get, but that's what you actually want to share. And they may have the words for you. The other places you can look is there are title generators online. And you can actually go online and say, generate a title. You don't even have to give it a start. And all of a sudden, fluorescent words go. And you're just like, oh, that's a really cool thing. And sometimes you may start there, find your image title, and then create an image to fit it. Ooh, what an idea.
That is a great idea. I'm totally stealing that because I will say that like that's the hardest thing, coming up with an idea. I love to photograph like families, but I'd never see like families being entered in print competition. And so that's my
they are.
I
And
see
they do.
some,
They just
but
have to
they're
be
all
done well
artistic.
and lit
Yes.
well, But then the one other place you can look for image titles is song titles.
Oh yeah.
You need to use your dictionary and your synonymary. I mean your
Thesaurus.
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 But a
But like
thesaurus is very
swimmer,
helpful
there's-
if you have a subject and you have the name of it, and then you put that word into the thesaurus, and then keep working your way down. Just say, "Oh, that sounds like a cool word," and then look for words that have onomatopoeia. So you've got, click, click, click. You've got 3 words that kind of live together that sound good together. Though but are not necessarily descriptive of the scene, but descriptive of the feeling that you're trying to express. Now I'll
The
shut
other
up.
thing, too, and Bob hasn't hit on this yet, but as a juror, sometimes seeing a title that is overused can be a turnoff.
Pretty in Pink.
Stairway to Heaven. The eyes have it.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
Can I ask a question of Bob and anyone else that's judging?
Brian, go ahead.
When coming up with a title, now, I don't mean to sound like a smartass here, and I do apologize if I do. But can you Marcia, why are you laughing? You know.
I was just saying, I don't mean to
smartass?
sound like a smart ass. I'm like, we're all smart asses. Come on
Have you met us?
in.
Anyway, can we use humor in the title?
Oh, yes. If you've got a humorous title, you can drag everybody in. The problem with a humorous title is if the image, may be funny to see and and may grab a laugh, you've grabbed some emotion, that's great. But is the image of good quality? So if the image isn't good quality behind that humor, we laugh and then go, "Oh man," and down it goes.
Okay.
Or up it goes. So a title can take a juror into the image and bring you along, or a title can actually, a title's not supposed to hurt. And normally if a title is not good, we will do our best to disregard it, even if it's pointing us in the direction of exactly what what you've tried to tell us. And it's like, boy, that title just doesn't work. Okay, that gets kind of dropped off. But it mostly titles will help versus a way, as long as you can involve and be more emotional than just specific. This is
Okay,
a boat
yeah.
in the water. I've seen
I
it.
submitted a wedding image to GPPA a couple of years ago of a wedding we had shot in the Bahamas, and there was a water spout right off the coast that literally happened right as the wedding was starting. I, of course, put uninvited wedding guests, and it bombed anyway. I mean, it was a bad picture,
Ooh,
it was
that
out of focus,
shouldn't.
but I was just trying to be funny.
That's fun. Yeah, no, so there are title generators out there, huh? You just go do an internet
That's-
search. I'm sorry, I'm
That's
like,
what Marcia
Yep.
yeah,
grabbed a hold of.
hey, I'm
Ooh.
all about doing the research. Like, how can I do this? Yeah, so that's great. Let me go back to our list of questions. Oh, a question was, can you walk through the competition process? So I'm gonna preface this. Within 2 weeks, we're gonna do a little crash course where we're gonna do like another Zoom where we're gonna go through, take an image, put the presentation around it, upload it, and just show you how all that is all done. But let's talk about the process.
I'll throw that at you. I've got to leave in the not
Okay.
too distant future. Is there
That's
anything
okay.
specific that you need or want from me before I kind of slide out?
Me?
Gosh, I can't think of anything.
Oh, no.
Marisha, go ahead.
Mauricia, yeah, go.
No, I didn't know if that was directed to me.
Oh, no, just to the group.
Okay.
Didn't mean to
I was
single
like-
you out.
Well, let me ask, but
Let
me
me
ask you
hurry and find a question I can ask.
let me ask a question before you go.
Okay.
It's kind of it's I don't know that it would apply to anybody else but me, but I do a lot of underwater photography. and I've gotten mixed results from judges. Sometimes judges think that I'm taking pictures through an aquarium, the glass in an aquarium.
Mhm.
Should I make the image appear like it's underwater, or, and leave some of the blue in, or should I tend to make color correct and try to get the truest color that I can. And maybe that's where I make a mistake sometimes.
Well, that's a toughie, TP, because you have to remember your audience, and unfortunately, very few of your judges have been underwater photographers, so they don't know the challenges, and they don't necessarily know the difference between an aquarium photo and a live underwater shot. I happen to have shot in the Caribbean underwater long enough to go, I don't want to spend any more money on cameras or flashes because I've flooded them all.
Oh, I
So
flooded a Nikon D850 last year.
geez, I know. And so that was something that I made that decision, but I did spend enough time underwater to understand. So yeah, you need to be, that's one of those, it has to be like really, kind of spectacular, kind of like a David Doublé. I would mimic, if you go back into the National Geographic stuff, there's a photographer named Steve Simonson out of the US Virgin Islands. If you look at his underwater work and Doublé's underwater work, who's like way up there, if you kind of match that feel, I think that's going to help you, because people have seen underwater images in National Geographic. So, and my brain is not actually functioning as to what that looks like, but I would poke around there before prepping my images for review.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the
do me
same
a
thing. It's the
favor.
same thing. I'm having the same kind of problem, because I'm now devoting myself to the night sky and the Milky Way, and doing workshops here in Sedona on that. And when I submitted it, that was one of my images that said, "Oh, sorry, no merit, and you know what? You ought to retire that little bad boy." And I'm like, okay, I think this panel maybe didn't know anything about photographing the night sky. And I accept that, and I know that happens. So you're going to run into that same problem with underwater photography.
Okay.
But
Well,
I don't discourage you from doing it. Get in there and show them how to do it, man. That's what I'm doing with my night sky stuff. I've started,
well,
I've found what it is that they find acceptable to see.
well, what I intend to do is I got my master's with Open, and now I want to go for my master artist degree. And
Sweet.
I'm forgetting reality. I'm going with fantasy now. So
All right. Hey,
I'm putting
welcome
things
to
into
my
the image.
world.
Yeah, I'm putting things into the images that could never be there. So
Just remember that there needs to be reality within that fantasy. That's one of the biggest things that I've found when I'm judging artwork, is that, go back to the movie, what is it? The blue movie, art begins with an A.
Avatar.
Avatar. Okay.
Avatar. Uh-huh.
There are no blue worlds. There are no blue people. There are, that's totally ludicrous. But within 2 or 3 minutes of being in the movie Avatar, it all is so believable. Why? Because everything has shape and form. The shadows work. The contact shadows are there. The rotating shadows are there. The light is all consistent. When you're doing artist work, you need to have that reality within whatever fantasy you're creating. And that can be difficult for some people to go, it's like, oh yeah, look at what I changed. And yeah, the change was great, but it's missing that little bit of, it doesn't look like it could be real.
Right.
So good luck with that. That was probably one of my hardest degrees.
Interesting. And the artist category, that's very interesting to me. I've done some work and I haven't submitted anything, but I won't, would you say it's like the most common error that people are making? Is it shadows? Is it lighting? Is it,
Yes. Shadow, I mean, the shadows and lighting have to live within that scene. So when you're compositing, and the other thing is tying things together. When you're compositing, if you bring in something in this lighting, and you bring in something with a different kind of lighting, the shadows all need to kind of match up. You need to build the light together. The other thing is, and one of the biggest tricks that I've found is doing a lookup table. After you've done everything, go to a lookup table or a soft light layer with clouds that have color in it, and turn it to soft light and turn the opacity down to maybe 10 or 15 or 20%. Same with a lookup table. And what that does is it's almost like glue tying everything back together. Watch for grain between different kinds of images. If you've got a different noise pattern in this image than you have in that, you may need to add some noise to some other images to make them look like they were like it was part of the same scene. That's where lookup tables came from, was from movies when they would have multiple cameras working and they wanted to have an overall color palette and feel for the entire movie. They would just add this lookup table to every single camera after in post-production, of course. Oh,
That's
sorry.
neat.
I didn't mean to go off there.
No, that's great. That's the nerdiness. It's so funny. Whenever I watch a movie, my family's like, oh, let's watch a movie and Marcia can say how nice the lighting is, or that she doesn't like the light. I just watch movies to look at the lighting.
Sure. It's a great place to learn. Those people are just absolute masters. They make me feel like I don't know how to do photography when I watch really well lit movies, because they're doing it at 24 frames a second.
Mhm.
And I'm doing one, can't get it right, and they're doing 24 frames a second for an hour and a half. Holy crap.
I was watching an old Andy Griffith show a while back. The lighting was horrible. You could see somebody moving a reflector across the scene, and it was just bad.
Well, I mean, it was well lit enough to tell the story. I think you have to take those older movies with a grain of salt because they didn't have the same technology we have.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I just think about like those halogen burning lights to light up a scene enough so the film could capture it. And I'm like, this is a miracle this film even happened, or so.
Oh, so I'm going to answer one question here that I saw pop up in the chat.
Yeah.
This whole set here is partially to say, hey, I take my photography very, very seriously. This little section right here says, I don't take myself too seriously. The cat fart book came from a grocery store, Natural Grocers. You can find them there, or I'm sure you can go to Barnes and Nobles. That's cat farts. The other one is Does It Fart? The definitive guide to animal flatulence. And then back here is my.
I knew you saw my question. I saw you read it. I saw you giggle. I'm like, yeah, he saw my question.
Even Fairy's Fart is a book that was sent.
Not funny.
Oh wait, the Tao of Pooh. Okay, so unless you have any other serious questions for me that you need me to answer, I'm gonna say see you, sayonara, or see you later, or whatever.
All right. Yeah.
Bob, thanks for coming.
Thank
I
you,
would like
Bob.
to ask one quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
And like Javon pointed out, I've been around a while. Anyway, I was just wondering if you're seeing a trend in the way the judging has changed over the years or not, because I know a lot of photography, accepted photography has changed a lot over the years. It used to be like if the hand isn't turned just right, if everything isn't just like really totally perfectly so, you'd get knocked on the hand not being turned right, or the eyelashes not showing, and this and that and the other. Has there been a trend change in the judging or not that you can say?
For sure there is in weddings. That's when they put the wedding degree out there. They've kind of said, hey, you know what, you need to loosen up a little bit because this is only the day of, and personally I think that's not necessarily so. When I look at the work of like the Munoz people and other folks, day of wedding, yeah, I know it's more difficult, but it's difficult to do a portrait. It's difficult to do, oh, the baby cried and the snot was running out of his nose, and oh, we cut it, there's always something. And as far as your specific question, it depends on how egregious the error is. I think that it's a lot looser than it used to be, but one thing can throw things off a little bit. Somewhat, it depends on your panel. They work real hard to have multiple feelers on the panel. They have your high tech guy. They have your person who is very emotional. They have your person who's a portraitist and a landscape, and so they try and mix it all up so that there's a good body of people looking at your work. And sometimes it depends on the composition of the panel. If there's a really tough portraitist in there and they point out, they're like, ooh, this was really nice, except for that can tend to pull things down. So, but yeah, I think it's a little looser now. We work really hard to now remember that the merit image review is now luckily, and I think this is where we're going to see it happen even more. The merit image review has been split off from competition, which is very important in my mind. Is very important. I've been trying to get that word competition out of IPC forever. I've been like, find a different name for this. This is not a competition. It's to become a better photographer. It's to learn your work. So the merit image review, I think, is going to be a really big help for that. And I think it's going to be a little bit looser as far as some of those, things that you may be asking about.
Hey, Bob.
Yes.
When did they start calling it IPC? I was looking back on this. I was just curious because of what you said.
A long time ago was International Photographic Competition.
So this says like annual exhibition, but I wonder if that's just because these were on display.
Right. You would be into International Photographic. There was IPCC, I think, or no, that was the committee. Yeah, it was. Yeah, the annual exhibition, that was always where your work went if you did well within the International Photographic Competition. And I think originally it was called Print Competition, International Print Competition, and eventually they switched over to International Photographic Competition, and now it's
because you had to actually submit prints.
Yes, I know. I have I can't tell you how much money I spent over the years. That's why I still have the old ones hanging up here. My first, I have like a little veritable wall of fame from my first.
See how like thick
2 or 3
these
years
things are. I mean, they're good prints, and like what so many of you guys that hadn't entered back when they were doing this is they had to be viewed under certain lighting conditions. And so our labs would have to actually simulate those lighting conditions to actually look at the prints.
F16 at 1 second.
Yep.
At ISO 100. And many times I would put an image in, and as soon as it would spin on the board, I would just go, oh no, I didn't print it dark enough. It was beautiful in the regular light. Underneath the competition lights, it was like, oh, it got washed. That's not going to do well.
Sometimes I miss those days.
Yep, a little bit.
Yep. Those days of driving a little too, husband driving too fast in the van trying to get to Jekyll Island to enter in competition. As I'm filling out the stuff on the back of the print, and we've got the windows down to clear out the lacquer spray smell.
Oh.
So there you go. Memories.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so you had all these. I still have all my stuff on the back of mine. I don't know if Bob's got it on his, but like there's the tag with the title, and then my descriptions.
Love
And
it.
then
Oh
this
my
would have been
goodness, this is great.
WPPI. So there's my score and like the print ID.
Fun stuff,
And this-
guys.
Yeah. So there's another one. That one is GPPA, and that's all the little markings that they put on there.
All right, guys.
Well, thanks, Bob. We really
Thank you,
appreciate
Bob.
you being here. We're gonna probably spend a couple minutes
Okay.
afterwards,
We'll
just
see you in the
making
not
sure.
too distant future, July,
See
I
you
think
in
it is, eh?
July. Yep.
All right.
Yeah. Looking
Thank you,
forward to
Bob.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you
All right,
so
guys.
much for being
Bye-bye.
our guest. Yep.
You're welcome.
Well, folks, are there any other questions or comments or thoughts that you guys want to talk about competition wise?
Yeah, I just have to say this, if we come up with a game that we need to play in GPPA, I think somebody needs to run the chat GPT image title thing, and then everybody gets an image title, and the next month you have to show up with an image for that title. So just an idea.
That's a fun idea. That's a fun idea. Yeah, no, it's funny because I, of course, I waited till the last minute, and I'm like, oh darn, what do I need? I need to start putting together images for image competition. So
I haven't had time.
I have a funny story
yeah, go for it.
that was reminded me when Bob said, ask a bunch of friends about titles and what do you think of these titles and stuff like that. I remember Ann Monteith telling me that when she and her husband were entering competition, they would put out images, all the different candidate images around the room, and ask the UPS guy. And the question they specifically said was, which image surprises you? And they got their masters off of the UPS guy saying which image surprised him.
That's pretty cool.
That's neat. That's good advice. All right,
I don't
folks.
know if FedEx would do the same thing or not.
Your Amazon delivery driver is trying to get as many packages delivered as
Yeah,
possible.
the
I'm
Amazon
not
delivery
sure.
guy would never do it.
No.
Oh,
No.
Rachel, because you asked about rules. One of the things that we did change this year is you don't have to submit 8 images anymore. You can submit up to 8, but we're doing it by the image this year instead of by the case.
Okay, so
Oh.
it's up to 8 images. What are the
Yeah.
new categories that got added back in?
Oh, you would ask. I
don't
moved my
remember.
location so I could get a
Oh,
better
don't worry.
signal. I had
Are
it
Don't
they
worry
up.
about
are they on the rules? Do you want me
Yes,
to-
they are on the rules.
I'll look them up and read them really quick. Let's see. Here.
We added some categories to weddings because for the last few years, our wedding category was purely just a wedding category. And I wanted to have it be able to receive a best of show. And the only way to do that is to have multiple categories in it. So now I think we've gone back to bride by herself, groom by himself, couple. I know we separated out, I want to say landscape and wildlife, but I could be wrong about that. I know we separated out one of those because to us, it didn't make sense for those to be lumped together.
Yeah, really.
There were some other things too. I had probably 5 or 6 different things written down, and it's been so long since I've done that I don't remember what they are. I'm sorry.
Well,
Thank
they should be on the GPPA site, and then also they should be on printcompetition.com when you upload.
They are on print competition. I'm glad you brought that up because I can actually go in there. Oh, looks like somebody's having game day. Guys, if you ever, I don't know how many of you that are here actually go to printcompetition.com, but when they're having game day, if I don't submit an image, a lot of times I'll sit there and watch those anyway, because you can actually learn a lot just by watching other people's competition.
It's yours.
Hey, do you want to share your screen?
Me? Marcia, were you talking to me?
Sorry, my son wants one of my shirts, and so he was coming. Yeah, do you want to share your screen so people can see what printcompetition.com looks like?
All right, can you guys see it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so this is printcompetition.com. I'm gonna hit, let's see, I'm gonna hit refresh and see if this, okay, so this is the screen that pops up. If they're having a competition, they'll say it's game day for PPA of PA. I knew they were already doing this because my friend Linda is actually one of the jurors for it. And I saw that she had just right as we were going live, she had actually said, hey, going to judge in for this. Now you can see down here where it says go to game day app or skip and go to website. If you go to the game day app, it's going to bring up this. It'll have a drop down menu where you can select if multiple associations are having a game day. And then you would hit go. Now it's gonna, so this association only had 75 images. I'm hoping that we beat that this year. So Rachel, Kirk, need to get you guys entering. Marche.
Hey, I entered last year. I'm entering this year.
Now, Marisha,
I got my
don't
little
know, 'cause
AI
you're-
thing on the side. Oh,
you're,
okay. Yeah, good.
You're new to GPPA, but I want you to enter. Brian, I'm sorry, but I don't know. Are you a member of GPPA?
no, not yet.
You got to get on there, man. But hey,
But
we're
he-
going to
but-
release some new membership rates here, like within the next day or two. So keep an eye out for that. So now what's happening, what you're looking at, and those of you who've ever done competition with us before, you'll know the image is coming up. We can't hear it right now because you would actually have to go into the audio, and then this would take us out of our Zoom and into another person's Zoom. So I wouldn't be able to talk to you guys, but this is where you would click on that. So you could actually hear what they're talking about if they're talking at all. And so they're seeing it. Over here, you can click on this and it brings up the leaders. It brings up some of the scores that they have right here. And this, if you can't see it, we'll just zoom in a little bit. They're not great resolution because obviously we're looking at them tiny. We can't click on any of this. But right now, this shows you that like they've already had a score of 100. Good Lord, they've had 4 100. Okay, now I'm just going to tell you guys that that's kind of unusual.
Wow.
To have
Yeah, I haven't
that
seen very many
100
100.
so quickly.
Yeah, happy judges.
98, yeah.
And there's a lot of high school.
Okay, we need those
Wow.
judges.
Yeah, I need to find out who that's. Obviously not Bob. But then you can actually click on progress. Now, obviously, if you look at these, you'll have where it says non-merit, upcoming, green is merit, and then these ones that are highlighted would be, it says my image. So it would be the image that you submitted. And you can tell by looking down here, it's like they've already gone through panel 1, panel 2. This may be over. And it would be highlighted where your image is. So if you had to walk away, you would look up here and you could say, yeah, I've got some time, I can go to the bathroom. And then come back, or you could just, you know, I know a lot of people will kind of stay online until their image comes through and then skedaddle out because you've got other things to do. But honestly, there is a lot to learn from these state affiliate competitions if you'll stay on. A lot of times when these competitions are going on, I'll turn it on and I'll just let it play in the background while I'm working on different things. And you know, you'll see, and not every image is outstanding. But you know, this kind of gives you an idea of how to work with printcompetition.com, which is what we use for our own.
Very cool.
Thank you for that tour.
It was a good tour. I don't think I'm always at the live event during competition, which is really fun. We are going to be having a live, it's called Club 79, where we watch the competition together and chat and cheer on our fellow photographers. It's lots of fun.
Trying to.
Do we have a venue for that
Okay,
yet?
so
Yep. Yep, let me get that up. We have,
All right, so if I'm still screen sharing, this
Yeah.
is the inside of, like, when I log into my account, this is the inside. Over here, you can select what your credentials are. You can even put in your PPA number, which obviously I haven't done. But then you can actually, this is what's really cool for me. Like, you can go into GPPA, and here is where you find the rules. Or, well, technically you don't find the rules here. You would find a link here. But apparently I have not updated that, so I need to do that. So that's shame on me. But you can actually go back and look at past competition entries. And if you're a premium member, you can actually listen to the audio of if the image was challenged or if it wasn't. Or depending on, some state affiliates will talk about the image no matter what. Like, they'll score it and then they'll have one juror, like, hey, juror number 3, will you take this one? And they'll talk about the image. And I mean, you can guys, and here's the really crazy thing. Okay, this image right here, A Moment Alone, at ASP this year got a 77. It almost went image excellence at MIR. You know, it just depends on the panel that you get your images in front of as to how it's going to do. You wake up with a juror that woke up in a bad mood. Hope your image doesn't go on that panel. If you are a baby photographer and your panel is full of people that hate kids, your image is not going to do as well as it would with, you know, Ann Getty's on it. So it's just
well, and the
things to
vice
think
versa.
about.
There are people that like are specialized in certain types of photographies, and they will defend images
Oh yeah.
that you know, because they know the genre. So that's been really cool to watch. Well, and kind of because I've been behind the scenes, it's kind of neat to hear, you know, someone who's a product photographer who's defending a product photography image, knowing what it takes to create that. And then maybe an animal photographer, you know, so that's been really cool to watch. And that's why what Bob was saying, having a panel with people of lots of different experience in different genres helps.
Now, if you look at these images, you'll see that there are scores in different colors. You've got scores in blue, and for those of you who are used to print competition economy, understand that means these scores were not merit scores, but the ones that are in green are merit scores. And so, depending on the juror panel, you may have 3 jurors who, like on this one over here, my power color, which you can see, I entered these into almost every state affiliate that I could find before it came time for PPA. I was looking for as much feedback as I could possibly get until I had an image I thought was strong enough. Then I would take it out of that line of I'm going to try something else and see what else I got. But like with this panel over here for Louisiana, 3 jurors thought it was good and 2 jurors thought it was almost good. And overall, because they averaged these things out, the overall score was an 80. That didn't change it all that much when I went to Maryland, and it scored an 82, and the entire panel thought it was amazing. And at PPA, the entire panel thought it was merit worthy, and it got a merit. This one, Seeing Red, this image itself actually went imaging excellence last year for PPA, and the score at Maryland was 83. You know, it's funny how that works, and you can never tell. I mean, there's no guarantees because we are dealing with humans. But this just kind of gives you an idea. And like I said, these little audios, you know, you just click on the audio and you can still, you know, go back and listen to what the judges had to say about the image when it was being judged. That was actually this was the Wedding Crasher. This is what I was telling Bob about. Right here, there's the tornado in the back, which actually did come on the island about, I don't know, 20 minutes later. knocked out power for the reception. We ended up doing the whole thing in the dark.
And that was fun to photograph.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to wrap things up here unless anyone else has a final comment, question.
I have a quick question.
Go for it.
So you were mentioning entering other state competitions, so you can pretty much enter anyone's competition?
As long as the rules allow you to, yes. Some affiliates will only allow their members to enter,
Okay,
but most affiliates will allow you to enter out of state. Now, you're not eligible for awards at most of these. Now, that being said, I got contacted by an affiliate that I entered last year, and they were like, "We're so sorry, we're running late. We're sending you an award for the highest scoring out of state competition winner." And I'm like, "Oh, I'd completely forgotten." But most affiliates do not award non-members or non-members who are out of state. So you're purely entering these things for feedback, which that's what I wanted. I only needed a couple of merits to finish out my master photographer, and I was going to do everything I could to. I didn't even want to know how much money I spent last year entering every affiliate. I mean, I really, like, if I saw an affiliate was coming up, I would send images to it.
okay. Thank you.
All right, guys, thank you so much for coming. We'll see you in 2 weeks. We're going to do another Zoom, same time on Thursday in 2 weeks, and we're going to just do like a crash course. So you can bring images you want, and we're going to do a demo live of how to create a presentation, how to upload it, how to, put it into printcompetition.com. We can critique each other's images a little bit if need be. So this is going to be hopefully pretty fun. And that means Marcia's got some work to do. So I can get something to work on.
I really want to see you guys entering print competition or image competition this year.
right.
Marisha, I know that, like I said, I know you're new to us. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me.
It's not expensive too. I mean, it's just
It's not.
it's pretty
Not like it-
inexpensive if it's per image. At least do a couple.
And Brian, once you join, you can enter and you can win awards and become as pretty as TP.
Well, can non-members enter though?
Non-members can absolutely enter, but you won't be eligible for awards or state merits.
Okay. Good to know. All right,
And it's more
folks.
expensive to enter as a non-member.
It's just a little bit more expensive.
Yeah, but you might as well be a member.
Exactly.
All
Save
right,
that money.
folks.
Join.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for coming, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.